Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome back to Wall Street Bullion. Our guest today is a good friend of mine, Rafi Farber from the Endgame Investor. Welcome back, Rafi.
Hey, Ivan, good to be back.
Great to have you back on. Thank you so much for coming down to speaking to the precious metals community. What a time to be alive. There's been so many sudden movements in precious metals right now. First we had that crazy run up in silver to $53. Now it's consolidating a bit. You see gold a little bit down, lower where we're at today. I wanted to ask you, Rafi, does it really matter what the price of silver and gold is in a fiat currency?
If you're trading with options or using leveraged ETFs because you want to use gold and silver investment vehicles to increase your dollar holdings, then yeah, it matters a lot. But if you're in this for the end game because you see that the dollar is going to die, then no, it doesn't. And then in that perspective, it's not gold and silver really moving at all. Silver moves a little bit. Gold doesn't move. It moves. Everything moves, but relative to other things, gold moves the least. And so it doesn't really matter because we're not in this for dollar gains. We don't stack to earn dollars. We earn dollars to stack so that we can get out of the system, and that hasn't changed at all.
Absolutely. We've spoken before in previous episodes about what happens when the end game comes. Of course, you want to have a strong community in your neighborhood and build a community. What happens when that community, is f whether it's failing to work together or it's not working how you've seemed, because, whatever it is, everyone's individual. How do you adapt to an end game where the community scenario doesn't work?
Either get out of the community if you're in New York City or Chicago or LA or in a big high rise where the community is probably not going to work so well because people in very, very large cities don't really know any of their neighbors. And if they know one or two guys in their building, they don't know the other 98%, 99%. You have no idea who's even living in the same structure as you.
Right.
And if you're in suburbia and there are people that are not cooperating, um, I mean, I just buy them out. If they're not, if they're gonna people who don't have gold and silver are gonna be very poor. Most people are not going to have. I would take these as givens. People with gold and silver, people with money, they will probably also be helpful in a community setting. If they don't have skills, they have capital to hire people with skills. But most of them will have skills because of the stacking type. They also stack skills. They also want to learn how to do things. So if there's someone who's not cooperating for whatever you need to be done, then just buy him out and get someone else in his place. It shouldn't be that hard because we'll have all the capital to do that. In terms of specifics, what's going to happen in little neighborhoods and how big a community is going to be, and whether it's going to be like everyone has their little territory and we break up into little fiefdoms. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I don't think it's going to be that extreme. I think the U.S. is going to break up into several different political entities, but I don't think it's going to be neighborhood by neighborhood, Mad Max style. I
Yeah.
just think we have too much technology that is stable for production to kind of break down into a complete Armageddon. I don't see that happening, but I do see some violence.
Hello, my fellow silver and gold stackers. Please hit the like and subscribe button. It will really help the silver and gold community grow. It'll help this channel grow, and I'd really appreciate it. Back to the
Yes.
video. Absolutely. Now, we've all learned, well, some of us have learned from COVID. We've seen what governments can do and what they can push and what type of, totalitarian kind of push that they can put on the people through media, propaganda, and so on and so forth. What happens in the next let's say COVID type scenario where it doesn't have to necessarily be an outbreak or a flu. Do you think people have learned from COVID or no?
That's a hard question. There's definitely they can't pull a COVID again in that way.
Right.
And the other thing that we have to keep in mind is that that pulling a fast one on the public is very expensive. In order to get people to convince people that they have to stay in their houses for even 2 weeks or longer, or however long it lasted, and not send their kids to school for a year and have them lose their childhoods and disturb their language acquiring abilities and put masks on so they can't see speech and they can't read people's lips, so their speech is slurred, and all the ways that we damaged children back then,
Right.
even with injections or not, and everything else that we did, it cost a lot of money. They had to pay people to stay in their houses, and they don't have it anymore. If they try to propagandize the entire world with a bunch of lies, they'll need a lot of money to back it up. Otherwise, people won't buy it. They'll
Right.
only buy it if they're going to be paid off. Um, so are people waking up? Most people are not, but you don't need everyone to wake up. You need about 15-20%. And I think we're close to those numbers of people that won't, they don't know exactly what happened. Maybe they don't think it was a complete scam, or maybe they think that the vaccines were a little bit helpful, but didn't really do everything that they promised, or even those types of people we can consider them, more on our side, and nobody has to be understand everything. They just have to be a little bit skeptical, just a little bit. And I think we have enough of that they can't pull this again. COVID was really the tip top of their of government power. We're not going to see that again.
It was just crazy how many people initially fell for it, and like who were, because I remember going to the gym and people would look at you like you were killing them if you didn't wear a mask. Like they thought you were just a menace to society. So
Yeah.
it's just crazy.
Yeah, and I was fooled at the very beginning. I was like, well, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Okay, well, I'll give it 2 weeks and then I'm out. Like
Right.
I did give it something because I didn't know what was going on. But even with mask at the beginning, I was like, this is just dumb. Like, don't people see this as dumb?
Right.
And then I put one on, and I was like, it's hard to breathe in. I'm not wearing this thing
No.
just to make somebody feel better. I couldn't stand it. Even at the very beginning, I was like, there's no way, even if the virus is real, and even if it's really deadly, that a mask is going to do squat. It's not going to do anything. So
Yeah.
I put it on for maybe like a day, and I was like, forget it. This is just retarded.
Yeah, I told people in the beginning when it first started popping off, I was like, if I start seeing friends and people on the street I know just collapsing and start dying like by the dozens or by like the hundreds, then yeah, I'll stay indoors. But nothing of that happened. So I was like, yeah, this is just yeah, just a Ponzi. But Rafi, I want to talk to you about what's concerning you right now. What do you have your eye on? I know you've talked so much about the end game. Is there anything specific that you have your eye on, like money supply, bonds, or interest rates?
Um, I'm looking into, let's see, what do I have my eye on specifically right now? Well, I mean, I was kind of, rug pulled by the action in gold and silver today. It's pretty noteworthy what's happening. You don't see this every day. You don't even see it every year.
Right,
Gold going down like 6% and silver is 7-8%. I've seen before. That's more I wouldn't say it's frequent, but it happens a lot more often than gold going down 6% a day. Um, and what concerns me, I guess, from today is that people don't want to understand and internalize, even stackers, that gold and silver are not going to go up and up and up every single day until and unless the Fed prints one last time. And they will, but we haven't gotten there yet. And
right.
so until they do, we are open to heavy down days like this. And we're still waiting for the final crunch, and the final crunch is going to be brutal. I don't know how brutal it's going to be, but it's going to be more brutal than this. And this has been brutal this day. It's not really phasing me because I don't have any leverage. I don't trade on margin, and I
Yeah.
don't use leveraged ETFs. I have a few options, out into like 2026, 2027. So this has nothing to do with that. I'm worried that stackers on the strength of this rally, and they feel so confident. They're like, "Oh, look at my portfolio, and it's got so many dollars in it, and my stacks are worth X number," and then they get puffed up, and then they get a little bit haughty, and do something stupid. That's what I'm
Right.
worried about. Like if you're a stacker, you have to stay level-headed both in the ups and downs. You can't get too unbalanced. Too happy is just as bad as too scared. You got to be
Right.
you can there's a range. You can be happy. I'm not saying don't be happy when there's a rally, or don't get a little bit scared when there's a sell-off, but like you've got to stay in range. So you've got to stay out of most of the leveraged trades. You could do a little bit, but then it can get addictive if you get if if somebody bought like a 2x gold or silver fund and they're up like hundreds of percent, and they're like euphoric, that itself is dangerous. So just stay calm in the good times and the bad times.
Uh, do you think what we're seeing right now is just a correction that we've expected, or is it price manipulation, spoofing? What do you think? Or a mix of both?
Um, I I think that there's something wrong with the market fundamentally, because I mean, India couldn't get supply. JP Morgan cut off India and said we don't have any bullion for you until November. I read that in Bloomberg.
Right.
I've been hearing about refineries backed up in the U.S. So there's a surplus of supply in the U.S., not enough in London, almost nothing in India. I mean, the silver market isn't working the way it's structured, because it's not structured as in a way to distribute money. It's structured for silver as an industrial commodity, which has it's a very different structure. You have big stockpiles of it in just a few isolated places, and they can get it to the industry needs that they need to, with just a few lines of transport. But when the public gets interested and they all want silver, how are you going to distribute it to 6 billion people when they all realize that credit doesn't work? So this
Right.
wasn't on that scale. We're not at the scale where everyone has realized it, but when the public starts to get interested, public all over the world, and says, "Oh, what's happening in silver? Maybe this fiat currency thing isn't working," and they start to show a little bit of interest, then the supply lines, they break down,
Right.
and that leads to huge spikes when refineries can't get product out, and so there's a shortage. But it also leads to huge collapses down when a burst of supply comes through the pipe, and then all of a sudden they can satisfy demand very quickly, and then it just leads to a lot of volatility because the structure of the market isn't built for this.
Hmm. What's one sign of the end game that you would be looking for, or we should be looking for you to say, "Hey, this is the end game," or are we already in it and in the early stages of it, or where, yeah, like what sign should we be looking for, Rafi?
Bank trouble, like we saw in 2023 with the regional banks, but it's going to be with all banks.
Hmm.
And an emergency meeting by the Fed, cutting to zero, increasing QE to whatever, $100 billion a week, whatever it's going to be,
Right.
and then watch what happens to the metals. Then I'd say we're in the end game. And if you have to watch what happens to the metals and what happens to interest rates on the final QE. I would expect, because it's going to be bigger than the one in 2020, I would expect not all, but a lot of treasury holders to sell directly to the Fed because they want to get out of the debt. And so we would see the Fed buying hundreds of billions, but still interest rates either staying steady nominally or even going up, and gold and silver climbing even faster. That would be like we're days or weeks away from the end of the currency.
There's about $15 trillion worth of physical gold in the world sitting there costing money rather than being used. Is just absolutely insane. Monetary Metals is bringing gold back into the financial world, putting gold to productive use right now. The problem with gold, of course, in physical form is that it's heavy, it's cumbersome, it's not particularly easy to ship, and it costs money to store in a protected manner. This platform Monetary Metals created is a proven concept and allows gold to be put to productive use, so that instead of sitting there costing you money, it's actually in use earning you money.
Learn how you can earn 2 to 5% in our leasing program and how accredited investors can earn up to 12% on silver paid in silver. This advertisement is not investment or financial advice. Minimum investment applies.
Right. No, It's getting crazier. Like you can start to see cracks for sure. I think that we're approaching it, but it's really crazy times we're living in. But Rafi, I want to thank you so much for coming down, speaking to the precious metals community. Before you go, I really want them to connect with you and follow your work. I want them to follow your YouTube channel. Where can they find your work, Rafi?
My YouTube channel is my name, Rafi Farber, and check out my Substack at endgameinvestor.substack.com. And if you're interested in any spiritual lessons in gold and silver and monetary economics, check out my Patreon at patreon.com/endgameinvestor for extra lessons
Yeah,
in
I
spirituality and stuff.
No, I love that. I highly recommend everyone watching this. Please check out Rafi. Please check out his Substack. I'm going to put the links in the description below so you guys can just click it, go straight to follow Rafi at his YouTube and his other social media. But Rafi, thank you so much for coming down, speaking to the precious metals community in these turbulent times. But I want to thank you so much for coming down, Rafi.
Thanks for having me, Ivan.
Talk to you soon.